Orange strobes flickered through the pines. A tow cable rattled toward my bumper, and a woman in designer shades told me my RV was leaving now. My coffee went cold in my hand before I could argue, because the driver was already easing back, beeper chirping, like the scene had been rehearsed without me. Only problem, the spot where my rig sat had a name on a map that mattered more than any HOA bylaw: Redwater County right-of-way. You want to know who I am before you decide if I'm the villain or the neighbor you'd grill with on a Sunday. I'm Eli Rowan, cabinet guy fixer, of things other folks would rather replace, owner of a beat-up RV. I turned into a tiny cabin with a cedar closet that makes the whole place smell like Saturday morning. I did the boring part. Most people skip. I went to the county office, pointed at the parcel on their own printout, asked if parking there was legal, if I stayed past the HOA boundary, and clear of the hydrant, got a stamped letter that said yes, then tucked it into a folder like a shield. The neighborhood was quiet and friendly in that way, where we know each other's dogs and borrow each other's ladders. Then Evelyn Pike moved in with a clipboard and a mission checking grass. Height measuring shutters, emailing subject lines like community aesthetic. Concerns, the kind of wording that sounds polite, while your blood pressure spikes. She found my RV and decided it was a precedent, not a parked vehicle. Told me I was encouraging chaos, sent photos with arrows on them, and never once answered when I forwarded the county letter. Just kept filming like evidence was better than conversation. That morning, the tow truck rolled in like a slow apology. White letters reading Dexter Recovery, and the driver, a stocky guy with kind eyes named Darren, had that look people get when they already know they're in the wrong movie. Ms. Pike says this is HOA property, he offered, voice careful, and I pressed my letter to his window like a Passport County landman. Hook it, and you're the headline. Evelyn slid between us with her phone up and her chin higher. Said, do your job. Darren, like she signs his checks. Then told me I was obstructing community standards, which is a phrase you only hear from people who think control and care are the same thing. I'm not a loud person, but I am stubborn. So I called the sheriff not to make a scene, just to make it right. Because when someone tries to move the line, you already drew together. You hold the line. You know what I mean? Deputy Sloan pulled in with the sun. No siren, just that calm that makes everybody else show who they really are. And neighbors stepped onto porches the way folks lean toward a ball game in the bottom of the ninth. He asked what we had. Evelyn started reciting bylaws like scripture junkyards, property values precedent, and he let her finish. Then pointed at the cul-de-sac and the patch where my RV sat under the pines. Their county. Begins here, not yours. He didn't raise his voice, didn't posture, just said the map out loud. Then looked at me. You got something. And I handed him the letter stained with coffee, stamped with the only authority that counted on that dirt. He read, nodded. And that tiny nod felt like the earth clicking back into place, Mr. Rowan's lawful where he is. Darren exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath since breakfast. Said, thank you, officer. I'm not trying to get in trouble. And Evelyn pivoted so fast her scarf snapped, told him he was hired to tow, and would tow, like volume, could create jurisdiction. The deputy gave a simple warning. Unauthorized towing is a crime. Do not proceed. And you could feel the scene offer her an off-ramp, the moment where a person can choose to be human instead of a headline. She chose the headline. She marched to my door, grabbed the handle, yanked like she was pulling a fire alarm, and the latch chattered, while my heart hit my ribs. That is trespass, I said. "That is enough," he said. And when she jerked away, her phone slipped and kept recording face down on the asphalt, catching nothing but shoe scuffs and the whole neighborhood leaning forward. "Don't touch me," she snapped. "You don't know who I am." And the deputy said the truest sentence I've heard in a long time, ma'am. "I know exactly who you're not. You're not the county." Yeah, that happened. She called it harassment. A conspiracy promised to sue until grandchildren remembered her name, then lifted her chin and said the magic words that turn warnings into paperwork. "Go ahead, arrest me." Backup turned the corner like they'd been here before. Officer Patel stepped out, read the field like a shortstop, and the cuffs went on with that small click. No one forgets the street went quiet, except for a dog tag jingling 2 houses over, and Dave, the neighbor who grills year-round, muttered about time into his coffee. Darren told me he was sorry. Said he believed her when she said it was HOA land, and I told him to call the county next time before he hooked anything. He promised hand up like a scout, then reeled in his cable like a man putting a snake back in a bag, and drove off without looking in the mirror. The deputy handed me my letter. Said most folks rely on vibes. You kept paper smart move, and I told him with some people you start carrying weather gear. He grinned, told me to enjoy my morning. Explained Evelyn. Would be leaving for disorderly conduct and attempted unlawful interference. Then closed the cruiser door on a muffled lecture about uneducated county employees. It should have ended there, but folks who rely on power don't surrender, they reload. A week later, I got notice that she'd filed something in court, a motion that said the HOA had implied authority over that stub of county land. Implied is a word that tries to sneak through a locked door. So I took the morning off, put on a clean shirt, and sat in a small courtroom that smelled like old books and second chances. The judge had a soft voice that could cut granite. Evelyn wore a rain-colored suit and said overarching mandate. 3 different ways talked about visual harmony and slope and precedent. Until the words stopped meaning anything, then the county attorney held up the same map. I printed at home, tapped here for HOA, tapped there for county. Held up my stamped letter like an exhibit in common sense, and let the room hear the silence between facts. The judge looked over. Her glasses said, "Implied authority does not exist. Where explicit jurisdiction ends, that is not a nuance, that is a line on a map." And when Evelyn tried to talk again, the judge lifted a finger and said, "No, ma'am. Sit. Fines for wasting county resources, community service. Nothing dramatic, just tidy. Which is its own kind of justice when you've been living in someone else's storm." The HOA board, tired of the hurricane cadence, held a quiet vote and handed the gavel to Sabine, a woman who speaks softly and carries a spreadsheet, and the street exhaled. Kids wobbling on bikes again. Mrs. Kim offering me pancakes from her porch because she swears carbs fix the soul. Dave, saluting me with a satchela like we just won a pennant. I made a few changes because winning doesn't mean you stop thinking. It means you stop flinching. Added a little motion light over the RV door so nobody could pretend they didn't know what they were. Grabbing laminated the county letter and hid an extra copy under the frozen blueberries. Where thieves never check, stuck a small sign in the window that said, "Respect the lines, property and otherwise." One morning I found a note under the wiper, not a complaint to thank you. It said, "I'm not brave and you are, and I don't buy the brave part. But I do believe people with clipboards will take everything you don't defend. Here's the part that lives in the middle, where the twist happens not in cuffs or courtrooms, but on a porch with 2 lawn chairs and a folder between them. Sabine knocked, asked if I'd help rewrite language about long-term parking near HOA boundaries. Not to ban it, but to say clearly what the HOA cannot do and what neighbors might do to keep the peace, and I'll be honest. A part of me wanted to slam the door, because guidance sometimes turns into a new way to say no. But another part of me remembered that sign in my window, and the truth that respect goes both ways. We wrote sentences that held the line without drawing a new fence, left room for courtesy. Added a link to the county map in bold, so nobody had to guess again. And when she left, I stood in the driveway and realized the real win wasn't Evelyn's fines. It was watching a loud rule book get replaced with a quieter kind of agreement. I still take the RV up to the ridge some evenings park, where the view tumbles and the sky remembers its job. Make coffee on the 2-burner, sight in the denim chair I upholstered with old jeans, because it made me laugh. Let the place hum when a friend brings a harmonica, and think about how victory sometimes looks like nothing at all. Just the right to keep what you already had without apologizing for it. If you've been told no by someone who never had the right to say it, hear me. Keep your paperwork. Keep your cool. Keep your lines straight. People will try to drag their fences into your yard with words like implied. Don't let them. The law can be slow, but it's sturdy if you stand on it. And for the record, I know some of you are thinking, Eli, even if it's legal, why park near an HOA at all? Aren't you inviting trouble? Maybe I am. Maybe I want a small fight that keeps a bigger argument warm. Or maybe the only way to cool everything down is to decide that common sense and courtesy belong to all of us, not just the people who print newsletters. So tell me what you think. Was I right to hold the line, or reckless for parking where I knew it would poke the bear? Have you seen rules used like weapons, or seen them save a neighborhood from sliding into chaos? Where's the line between standards and bullying in your world? Drop your take in the comments. Argue with me. Back me up. Tell me your story. I'll be there, reading from the little table in my RV, coffee cooling too fast, waiting to hear where you draw your lines and why.